The bottom rolling hangar door moves along rails embedded in the floor and top guide beams built into the ceiling. They use several smaller panels to construct the 184-foot wide hangar door. An oxy-fuel cutter carves door parts out of a carbon steel plate. The torches heat up the metal, then blast it with oxygen. This creates iron oxide, which melts and flows out of the cut. The operator uses an iron rod to lift the machined parts off of the burn table. He cleans up the edges with an electric grinder and removes any iron oxide left over from the cutting process. The machined parts go to a CNC mill, which turns each round blank into a wheel. A carbide insert carves the rail's tread profile into the steel. The machine sprays coolant to prevent overheating, which would warp the finished wheel. Next, a machinist uses a smaller blank to make an upper guide roller. The mill runs at a speed of approximately 200 rotations per minute. It quickly turns the round blank into a finished roller ready for assembly. A worker starts fitting rollers inside the upper guide head. He inserts them into machined holes in the steel housing and tack welds them in place. He positions the larger rollers outside the upper guide head housing. These rollers will bear the load of the door. Using a metal sheet as a gauge, he sets the clearance between the roller and the housing, then welds the parts together. A CNC drilling machine prepares to make the outside frame of the door panels. A pressure sensor on the drill moves its carbide insert back automatically as soon as it pierces the surface. Meanwhile, two welders assemble the bottom door truck on a welding jig. They weld a spacer to the main beam using an electric MIG welder. They tack weld the tube in place, then bring in the side channel of the door truck assembly. They clamp the side channel tightly against the spacer tube. Then weld the spacers to the beam, making a clean, continuous weld. A worker sandblasts the door truck assembly. He blows compressed air and sand to prepare the metal surface for painting. Using a spray gun, a worker applies corrosion-resistant metal primer on the door truck and leaves it to dry. Workers assemble the panels before the door leaves the shop. They use high-strength structural bolts to assemble the parts. Workers install the unitized operator assembly. It contains the engine powering the bottom roller wheels. A worker bolts the electrical control panel to the operator assembly frame. He puts the cabinet door in place and secures the hinge. Tightened brace cables keep the door square and prevent racking. They mount the upper guide on a telescoping assembly. They add the door's corrugated exterior panels and it's ready to ship. At the push of a button, the assembled door slowly opens. Each panel rolls on the bottom rail and hangs from the top guide rail. The door opens wide enough to let